All right, hello, and welcome to another episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm your host, Daniela Taplin-Lumberg, and I'm here with some special guests. Vanessa, say hi.
Hi.
And Rach.
Hey, guys.
Okay. So, guys, we're doing a very special episode this week. We're going to do our summer movie preview, but it's a little bit different than like the standard summer movie preview. We're going to talk about the movies that we think are interesting. So they're not necessarily going to be all the box office bonanza films. They're going to be the films that we think are worth going to see.
Or we predict.
We predict.
Yeah.
And we're sponsored once again by Kalshi, which we're so excited about.
We're very excited to be sponsored by Kalshi again. It's going to be a really fun summer of trying to make some good predictions.
Yes. And today we're actually going to make some predictions on the site or the app. We're going to make some bets. So let's get going.
It's all live, guys.
Yeah, it's all live. It's all live.
It's all happening.
Okay, so the first movie we're going to talk about is Furiosa, which opens May 24th. It's the, continuation of the Mad Max sort of empire. It just premiered at Cannes, and it was critically lauded. It seemed like there was 8 minutes of a standing O, which is always an indicator of a great film at Cannes. Yeah. What are your thoughts? Vanessa, you go first.
Well, I personally love Mad Max. I feel like having a very splashy kind of big theatrical movie that's made in a cool, artful, vibey way. I feel like that's the thing everyone's trying to do now, and George Miller's been doing it so well for so long.
Totally.
And so I'm just game for another one.
Okay, you're down.
I'm down.
What about you?
This is less my zone of interest.
Yeah, okay.
But I do like the style of it. Mm-hmm. But, we just had a desert movie a couple weeks ago.
Dune.
I need a little space.
I sort of feel like this pairing of Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth is a less dazzling pairing than Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And they notoriously and had a terrible feud. Tom Hardy wouldn't come out of his trailer. It was all of a sudden that story is all over the place again because this movie's coming out. And so I just feel like Charlize is a tried and true movie star, and Anya is, while wonderful, hasn't quite proven herself in that domain. So I just don't think this one is going to reach the heights of the other one, which I really, really liked, by the way.
I agree. I think the scale of the presentation of who's in it and the vibe and is not meeting the moment of what you want the scale of a movie like this to be.
Yeah. I also read that Anya had a very traumatic experience shooting this. And I think just shooting a Mad Max film is going to be difficult. It's obviously an incredibly arid desert environment. Those aren't fun costumes. It was 6 months. Going
intense.
into making these movies feels incredibly intense.
Yeah.
I think Anya, I think she's a fantastic actress, and I think she really becomes the role she plays. But when you're in a Mad Max world and you're doing that, it almost is not when we're watching Dune, you're that's Zendaya in Dune,
Yeah.
And whatever you want to say about her performance, you're still this is a movie star. I feel like Anya blending, there's going to be people who are going to go in and not know who she is.
I say Anya Taylor-Joy to my husband, and he doesn't know who she is. So let's see how that goes. So this is going to be our first prediction on Kalshi, you guys. So we discussed a little bit beforehand. We're going to it's basically a betting website, and you can bet on the Rotten Tomatoes score. And so Kalshi, for Furiosa, they're predicting 87.6 in the Rotten Tomatoes score. So if you bet above 80 right now, there's a 70% chance of that. So if you bet $100, you could make $132. If you bet above 85 on the Rotten Tomatoes score, if you bet $100, you could make $286.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's
you
a lot of
guys,
money.
this is crazy.
That's math I cannot do.
Yeah.
Should we do
Don't
that
give
right
women
now?
a bad name. Don't give women a bad name, okay?
I didn't say women can't do
No,
math.
I just hate when women are the math isn't mathing. I'm shut up. We can do math, okay?
I can do math. I have a calculator.
And if you
That's how I could do math.
Rach is the one-line hit wonder on this.
Always
okay.
throws it in.
And then if you bet above 90, which there's a 3% chance of, if you bet 100, you could make 800.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild. Should we do that right now? Should we make a bet?
We're not gonna win though. I don't think that it's gonna score above a 90.
No, I think it'll score above
Right,
an
that's
85.
the question. Do you think that the Cannes audience is the peak of excitement?
Yes.
Or do you think
Yes.
the audience will be more excited than the critical response?
Yes.
That's kind of what we're sussing out.
Well, I've read a few sort of early reviews, and like most people really like it and just feel like George Miller is like a true auteur artist who like understands this genre better than anyone. But the few negative reviews have been like, it's just like a total mishmash of like action sequences, and there's no like real narrative drive. And I sort of, not having seen it, I could see that being true.
Yeah, but that's kind of what you go to a Mad Max movie for. Like there always is a bit of a storyline that you're like, I guess that's why I'm here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But you're really in it for the visuals and the incredible acting and the sequences that are like very fun.
Yeah.
There are people who love that.
Yeah.
Just action sequences.
No, they
there
do,
are
but
other
I think
people-
those people come out with like proper stars
Yes.
in mind. And so I'm just like, that's the thing that's holding me back. So I'm going to bet above 80.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's a confident bet.
That's just like a very conservative bet. This is like when I went to Vegas, this is what I would do. Just bet conservatively. You win a little bit. You feel good, you know.
You guys, last time I was in Vegas, I won $11. I was so excited.
You left with more money than some people.
I left with
That's fair.
money.
That's fair.
Any money.
Okay. You know, the next thing I just want to mention, you guys, is I've just read that there's a re-release of Run Lola Run, which I'm sure is just like a limited re-release. But I just want to say, if anyone hasn't seen this movie and wants an opportunity to see something like really extraordinary, go see this movie in theaters. I suspect it'll only be in like a few cities, but wow, what a great movie. Okay, so the next movie we're going to talk about, Rach, I know you have real opinions about this, is Pixar's Inside Out 2, which is coming out June 14th.
I'm a big Inside Out fan.
I mean, I just watched the preview. Brilliant.
And I will say I'm not an animated fan generally.
Nor I.
But Pixar does it right.
They're so smart.
They're so smart in terms of the emotionality of the movies, connecting it back to the themes and the stories they want to tell.
Yeah.
There's so much to build on.
Yeah.
I just know that it's going to be great.
I think they're going to hit it out of the park.
It
out of the park. So the notion of this one is that our heroine is now in her preteen or teen era, and so all these other emotions have like entered into the lexicon, and so there's like embarrassment and anxiety and all these things that happen to teen girls, and I'm just like so there for it.
It's brilliant.
It's so good.
This is when you have like Hollywood keeps trying to force this into movies, but when you have a really good concept and you can just kind of keep going with it and you could take that in 1,000 directions, I mean, it's just going to be good.
And I think the thing I notice about this movie, which I really don't see in a lot of the summer films, is it feels like equally for boys and girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And adults and kids.
Yeah. Like I'm like the whole, I'm obviously the Pixar notion is like the entire family will have a good time at this, but they're uniquely good at that. And I can't say that for many other of the films coming out this summer.
It's very true. And I will say, looking at the movies in the history of summer blockbusters, in terms of things that have succeeded, family movies are at the top of that list a lot of the time because kids are out of school.
Yeah.
Parents need their kids to be doing something. Put them in front of a screen, take them to the movies. It's a good way to spend your time. So
that's right.
It makes a lot of sense.
It's an event. It's an event. Okay. So we like Pixar. We think they're going to hit it out of the park. Kalshi doesn't really have an opinion on this because I think like everyone just agrees it's going to be like a worldwide blockbuster.
Hard to bet against
Good
Pixar.
for them. Good for them. Okay, so the next movie I think I want to talk about is Yorgos Lanthimos' latest feature, which we sort of touched upon when we interviewed the producers on Poor Things. Loyal listeners, if you recall, Poor Things we were big fans of. It's his latest movie, Kinds of Kindness, which he shot during the post-production phase of Poor Things. And so this one, we just looked at the trailer. It looks bonkers. It's also premiering at Cannes. It's got Emma Stone again. It's got a great cast, but it looks kind of like a potpourri of like different storylines. It doesn't necessarily have like a traditional narrative arc, but we think it looks really rad.
Potpourri is an excellent word. Excellent word choice. I agree. I think it feels like a bowl of nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like I think it'll be gorgeous to look at.
Yep.
I think it'll be a ton of fun.
Yep.
Don't know if I'll like it.
He makes the weirdest, craziest movies, but they always have a story. It's never random. It's never like meant to be like poetic and you're just like sitting there watching weird things appear on screen.
Yeah.
He makes like the story. I mean, obviously Poor Things was a more traditional story, but I think there's going to be a story here. They're just like, we know people like Yorgos. We know Poor Things came out. People like Emma Stone. We're just going to cut a cool trailer. We're going to make you guys curious, and you're going to know nothing about this movie.
I agree. It might be a marketing choice to be like, it's vibes, come. Yeah. And then they'll smuggle in a narrative.
We've talked a lot about vibes lately.
Vibes
it's a
is
vibe.
the thing.
Yeah.
Vibes is the thing. I don't know why, like some people are not picking up on this, but there are movies that are having so much success right now. And it's just because like kids on TikTok are like, this is a cool vibe. I want to I want this costume for Halloween. I want, or like Murder on the Dance Floor became a hit again.
Yes.
You know, it's doing
Saltburn
that.
was a vibe. Challengers was a vibe.
Totally.
This is a vibe.
But you can't chase a vibe.
Can't chase a vibe. Can't force a vibe.
No. That's right. It either feels authentic or it doesn't. Right. And so I would say this is probably an authentic vibe.
Yeah.
Kalshi does have opinions about this. They're predicting an 86.3 on Rotten Tomatoes. So if we bet above 85, which there's a 71% chance of, we'll make, and you bet 100, we'd make $131.
I think you're not going to go see the movie if you're not inclined to like it. So I would hedge on the side of betting higher.
So you would bet above 90? You can make $171.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
I think I'm going to bet 85. Again, I'm just going to play the conservative play and see what happens.
Great.
The next movie I want to talk about, guys, I'm going to skip over Despicable Me 4, and here's why. It opens July 3rd. It's going to be a blockbuster. I looked at the trailer. I'm not there for it. And by the way, I like the Minions. I think they're funny. I think I love their language. Like I've been to every movie because I obviously have kids. This one does not feel appealing to me.
Yeah, it's that kind of when you get to that point where they're just dragging it out and you can just feel the money grab.
Yes. That's how I feel.
You're just like, I love Despicable Me. I like the Minions. I know it's Rachel's looking at me right now.
I am out on this.
It doesn't have a vibe. There's no vibe.
It's not what it, you know what it is? It's they're annoying. Why do I want something chirping in my ear?
I know, Rach, but they're like a global phenomenon. Do you understand why they were successful at one point?
I understand why in a small part of a first movie, they might be like, haha, to somebody.
Yeah.
Not for me.
It's made billions of dollars.
Sure.
So like there other people disagree. But I agree with you. I'm just like, they're played out. It doesn't feel inventive. I feel like it's a money grab.
It's also been so many years since the first movie came out, I feel like.
I know. Like my kids were like in diapers.
Yeah.
Now they're going to college. You know what I mean?
That's why I do think the other thing that you might have a problem with, Rachel, is like a kind of Gen Z, is that was a very millennial movie. And I think it's like chuggy to like the Minions. You know?
Can you describe to our loyal listeners what chuggy means? Because I barely know.
So chuggy is the Gen Z word for a millennial who likes very corny millennial things. So like getting excited for like a Starbucks like pumpkin spice latte.
Okay.
Or having like live, laugh, love in your bathroom.
Okay.
Like doing those kinds of things. And that I think this falls in that category.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't love generally lame stuff.
Yeah.
But you are saying that for yourself. But there are people out there who love
who are like ironically embracing it and then actually authentically love it. Yeah.
If they authentically love it, fine. If they ironically love it, no.
Okay.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
That feels generational to me. I think the next order of business is A24 release of a movie called Maxine, which is a Ty West film. I'm not a Ty West guy myself.
Ty West is a very referential filmmaker. He clearly is studied on the making of film and film history.
Yeah.
He loves to play with tropes and Hollywood feeling landscapes.
Yeah.
So Pearl really lived in this kind of like Judy Garland, Wizard of Oz kind of world.
Yeah.
But then it's also like
The flip of it is like,
the flip of it is she's stabbing a duck with a fork. Right? Like there is this really sinister matchup with these very like glitzy Hollywood vibes.
Yeah. And
Which
there's
I love
obvious
as a
like,
juxtaposition.
Yeah, like the homage to like 80s horror, and like I think even in the trailer they make reference to like Jamie Lee Curtis, who got her start in horror films. So there's obviously like a tip of the hat to that genre.
He's a very intelligent filmmaker.
Yeah.
From what I can tell. And his movies feel very poppy in that way that we're talking about vibes. It's like, oh, I get why Gen Z would want to see these movies.
We'll see how that does. It's not for me, but I understand what you're saying.
I am nervous.
Yeah.
But I want to see it.
Okay. You'll have to report back to us, Rach.
I don't know if I heard this on our podcast, which I keep referencing our podcast, but I'm like, where did I get that?
Yeah.
Someone said, maybe you, that A24 makes movies for men.
Yes.
And I don't know if this was it you? Mm-hmm. And
Really?
I've started thinking about that a lot this week. And I feel like this falls under that category a little
Agree.
bit, where it's just like, where I don't like, I don't love horror movies as it is. I think there are certain kinds of horror movies that can get me in, but I'm just like, this feels like it's peddling that like dude who's like kind of hipster who like loves an A24 movie, and they just kind of keep doing that, and they're not like expanding past that.
I agree. On the whole,
tired.
they are putting out this movie this week called Babes, which Pamela Adlon directed. I would say like that feels like a real exception to the rule for them. But I would say more and more, it's like Iron Claw. It's like all these like, you know, they're cool, but they skew very male in my opinion.
I agree.
And that doesn't mean I won't go see them.
I'm going to be thinking about this
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Now I can come up with exceptions like The Farewell and you know Babes and these things, but I think mostly that makes
very interesting.
I think
Yeah.
it's true.
Okay, the next movie I want to discuss, which I actually kind of was like, did not expect to be into, is Twisters.
I feel the same way. I'm like, let's do it. But when I first heard that they were gonna do this movie,
It's a remake.
It's a remake.
It's a remake of a like mediocre success called Twister.
Well, it was a mediocre success that Universal, I just feel like, kept spinning out.
Yeah.
Like they turned it into a ride. Like as a kid, I grew up in Florida. I would go to the Universal Twister ride was a real thing.
Oh.
But regardless of that, I mean, that made me terrified of any natural disasters. But I was like, why do we have to remake the random movie?
This IP that doesn't even have that much value.
And there's no story to it. And but then I was like, you know what?
The trailer looks great. Love me some Daisy Edgar Jones. Love me. What's this guy's name?
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell, who, by the way, I'm okay on. Everyone's like super hot on him now. I heard someone say the other day that like the studio is more excited about Glenn Powell than Brad Pitt, which I simply cannot believe.
That's insane.
That's insane to me. But I see him in this trailer. He's got a clean white t-shirt. He's got a cowboy hat and aviator glasses, and I'm there for it.
The look is good.
It's just what I want to see him, you know? That's exactly.
We're in Cowboy Carter era of Glenn Powell, which is the only version I'm interested in.
That's right. That's right.
I love Glenn Powell. I've been talking to people who feel the same way about you. They're like, he's so vanilla.
Yeah.
But I'm like, we don't have a movie star. We have Timothée Chalamet, and that's it.
I know. It's a good point. It's a really good point.
Like he's so watchable and he's so likable. He does the same thing kind of over and over again. So it would be fun to see him do more. But But for now, I'm not sick of it.
He went to Sundance with this Linklater movie called Hitman.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, he's been in some rom-coms, which like, you know, we've talked a lot about this, guys. Like cool actors historically are not doing rom-coms because they don't think they're cool. And Glenn Powell was like, I love a rom-com. Like sign me up for a rom-com.
So
and I
cool.
love that. I love that he's like not too cool for school. Whereas like most of the actors we love, something has to be really, really cool about it. The director or the concept or the IP, you know?
Yeah.
It bums me out that like watchable is the standard these days a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish we had a true movie star.
Yeah. But I just want to like usher in some more original content, you know, like let's start some new franchises.
Yeah. I think it's like this is a whole different conversation, but the state of the industry right now that a lot of people have been talking about, and there's been so many articles about it. And I'm seeing it, working in it, that just, there's this really weird void right now where people don't want to take risks, where people are losing their jobs.
Yep.
And they're just going to bet on things that are easy.
Yeah.
And what's happening is some of those easy bets aren't even working.
Yes.
So then what do you do?
Yeah.
And so I understand the anxiety of it as a film lover and as a moviegoer. I hate that my options are watching the remake of Twister or going to see like the 4th installment of an animated movie. Like I would really like to see something new and original.
Yeah.
And something new and original that's big, you know?
Yeah.
Not just something that A24 is producing, because they're doing amazing work, but where's the fun, like, new action movie that, you know, what started all these franchises? These stories, not all of them were pieces of IP that were turned into movies. Some of them were real, just good screenplays.
That's right. It's so funny you say that, because I was looking at like all the images of is it If? Mm-hmm. The Krasinski family movie that's coming out, and like that guy is a juggernaut. Like, he's unbelievable. And there was the premiere the other day, and it was just like every big movie star he got to show up and like voice a part, and it's like Bradley Cooper and Krasinski and Steve Carell and like you know, everyone under the sun, his wife, like. And they're all showing up for this thing. And I'm like, this is a completely original idea that came from his head after he did that thing during COVID called Good News. You remember he would do that like weekly thing from his desk at home in shorts.
Adorable.
It was so adorable. And I was like, this guy is just at least trying to do new and different things. And, you know, I was listening to like The Town, you know, whatever, criticize it, and like the reviews of the movie haven't been great, and I was just like, at least he's taking a big swing. But if the movie isn't great, then you're handicapping the potential for new IP, right? And so it's like you've got to like have original content, but it's also got to be great. And that's a really tall order. That's $110 million swing, right? And it may not do as well. It's not going to do as well as, you know, some of these movies we're talking about. And I'm just like so bummed. I'm like, I love the idea of like trying something new, but then it's got to be a success, you know, or else people are losing their jobs.
That's the interesting takeaway I had from looking at, you know, summer box office movies in history and what has succeeded. The highest grossing summer box office movie of all time is Jaws, which was not surprising to me. Barbie, number 47.
Wow.
I think that really speaks. I mean, that was such a big moment. My grandma was calling me, being like, I don't have a pink shirt. Can I go to the movies? Like, it reached everybody. And still, it's 47 on the list. I think that really speaks to the landscape of the theatrical experience that we're in right now, which is that even for the biggest movie that everyone's going to see in the theaters, we're just not hitting those margins.
And that's even based on like a form of IP, right? And so, and that's like the best filmmaker working, the biggest stars working, you know? And by the way, that's like considered a huge success for this era. And
it was a huge success.
And they're gonna, you know, they're gonna spawn out as many as they can, I'm sure. But you're right. It's just like we have a flooded marketplace right now, and being original is really, really difficult. So anyways, guys, boo-hoo.
Excited for Twisters.
but yes, the point is I am
we love
for
movies
Twisters.
With wind.
Yes.
Just want to be blown away.
So the next thing, again, I wasn't going to mention it, and then I watched the trailer and I was just like, Ryan Reynolds delivers. I'm sorry. But Deadpool and Wolverine, like, the trailer was clever. That's why that movie, I think, actually works. It's like an R-rated Marvel movie. Like, it makes no sense. Ryan Reynolds looks crazy, and yet there is like a cleverness to the scripts, and that works. I understand it. I understand why this movie is going to make $1 bajillion.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds, I mean, people keep trying to redo the Ryan Reynolds thing that he does.
Yeah.
And they do it in other movies with Ryan Reynolds. And it doesn't work as well as when he's playing Deadpool. And I think it's just the filmmakers, they have such a strong vision. The team behind it has such a strong vision. Marvel's clearly letting them play. Which is really cool. And it's working. I mean, this is what we're talking about, being original. Obviously, it's not an original piece of IP, but it's an original approach to something that people get. I think people are going to be excited. I think people are going to go see.
I think it's going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, Kalshi thinks that
81%.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty great for a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a movie that stopped and started. So I think it started shooting before the strike. went down, had to finish shooting post-strike. I think the release was not always set for July. So it's like these movies, you know, they've probably spent so much money on this movie, so it has to work. So like if we wanted to, you know, they're predicting 83%. So if we wanted to bet above 75%, we'd make $108. I might bet above 84%. And
I feel like we could
$146.
Yeah, I feel like 84 is not a crazy thing.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bet that. Guys. Okay.
This feels
moving on.
Isn't this what insider trading is?
Let's see if we're right, though. Let's see if we're right.
Do you know anyone at Marvel that's feeding you the information?
Yeah. No one's feeding us any intel. Okay, so I'm going to just skip along. The other movie I just want to talk about, we just watched the trailer together, Vanessa. It Ends With Us, based on the Colleen Hoover book.
Don't get me started.
We were both offended by this Blake Lively star.
I will say, and this is going to offend anyone who's read the book, but okay, so I read the book last summer after 3 individual friends told me that it changed their life, that Colleen Hoover changed their life, that Verity, that this book, It Ends With Us, that it starts with us. So I was like, well, everyone's reading it. It seems like a quick read. I did read it in a day. Like I read it on a plane.
Quick read. I appreciate that.
Very quick read. Mm-hmm. It is so badly written. And I think that it's kind of, I mean, it's definitely a beach read, so you're definitely like eating it up, but it makes women look so weak. And I think it's talking about abuse in relationships, and obviously that's an incredible thing to put a spotlight on. And I think that, you know, if it's reaching this many people, that's great. But the character was so strange. And when pictures of Blake Lively on set came out, the internet went crazy. And they were like,
because that wig is so bad.
The wig is so bad. But in the movie, she's kind of an oddball with like her hair is orange. And like when I saw that picture, I was like, yeah, that's the description in the book. Like the book is bad. Therefore, the exact like visual version is going to be bad. People were expecting it to be this deeper thing, but it's not. It's, you know, it's a beach read turned into a movie. I really hated it a lot. Like I laughed out loud at parts. Like the character named, like her abusive partner in this, his name is Ryle. Ryle. And then the guy who like she's in love with from her childhood, his name is Atlas. And it's like,
Jesus.
Just why? Like, can his name just be Brett?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Totally. Sorry for the other Atlases that are listening to this podcast, but
no, you have a great name.
No, it's
I don't know. What I saw in the trailer was like a sexy version of like romance and then abuse, and I just felt a little exploitative, and I don't like that. You know, like I am all for the support of women who are being abused, and like, but this just felt like a Hollywood sort of like cheesy romanticized version of it, and I was just like, I don't. Why is this the story for women that like we're getting? You know, like this is all we've got all summer. It just really like irked me.
It feels like what Twilight did like 10, 15 years ago by accident. Yeah. This movie's doing on purpose. And that's just, and also like Justin Baldoni, the filmmaker, he has a podcast. He's very open about a lot, like he has a really, really beautiful thoughts, I think, on relationships and women and masculinity. And I'm like so disappointed that he's the one making this movie. But it's going to make so much money.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't think Kalshi has an opinion on it because they just don't. But I just don't think Blake Lively is a movie star.
No, but
what?
I don't think she's a movie star.
You don't think she's a movie star?
No.
Really?
Oh my God.
I
think she's
We're
many
screwed
other
if
things.
we want to work with Blake Lively.
But I don't find her to be a proper movie star.
That's so interesting.
I find her to be a TV star who's been cast in. She's like the 10th pick if you're trying to cast like Jennifer Lawrence.
I think back to our conversation with Deborah Martin Chase about Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and just the feeling she had in the room of seeing her audition and being like, that's the one. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I do get that when I watch her on screen.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a difference between a TV star and a movie star. And I think that Blake Lively is a great TV star. I watched her all day long on Gossip Girl. I think that Jennifer Aniston is another great TV star. I don't consider her like next level acting talent.
Not next level acting talent.
Meets movie star quality.
But if she's in a movie, I will go see it.
Oh, Interesting.
So that for me is kind of my barometer.
Okay.
Like, do you excite me enough to get my butt in the seat?
Yeah. Okay.
I do wonder though with Blake Lively, like I just think she's picking roles that are strange for her.
Weird.
And I don't like, cause I see both of your points. I actually do think she's compelling. Like I understand that her best role was on Gossip Girl. That's the thing. And I do think in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, she was so charming. She was playing this like all American girl and had all these issues, and it was layered and the performance was great, but it fit her. And I just feel like she's been cast in some strange, like this character also is supposed to be way younger. So it's like, why is she playing like a 27-year-old woman?
Yeah, she's 40.
She's 40.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any 27-year-old movie stars.
Yeah,
I mean, that's another like industry landscape issue.
Yeah.
But I do remember this book being so in the cultural conversation and me not having a lot of knowledge about the book and knowing kind of the cast and the property and a little bit about it. I would have never assumed it was about abuse. I thought this was going to be more in the vein of An Idea of You, buzzy, based on a book, like fun beach read.
I wish.
I
wish.
Yeah.
I was so upset.
You know, it's so funny because I was just talking to Hallie about our movie Goodrich, which, you know, hopefully we'll be slating for a release soon. But The Idea of You is the most successful, you know, film that Amazon's had in years. Like everyone is watching The Idea of You. And listen, you guys know I loved it. I think I've talked to a lot of people who are like, yeah, it's good. It's good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it scratches this itch of like content for women. And by the way, not exclusively women. I watched it with my husband. He thought it was perfectly acceptable too. And I'm annoyed that there's just not more content for us out there right now. And I'm not even this person. Like I love films that skewed towards men's. I love Die Hard. You guys know that. Like half the movies we like explore here are like traditionally male films. But I'm just like looking at this landscape for the summer and there's nothing for us.
And also talking to my friends and people who have watched that movie who don't work in the film industry, they were just like, it's just like a bunch of pretty people.
Yeah.
You know?
We've talked about that a lot, right?
Yeah. It's just like, I just want to watch sexy, like Challengers, the same thing. Like,
totally.
Just sexy people being sexy, doing, and not in an offensive way, in a way that,
or salacious. It's just, you know, there's story there, you know.
Story.
They're actors. They want us to talk about how hot they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they know.
And I want to watch them because they're hot, you know? Like that's the whole
part
point.
of the job.
You're trying to, I would like to go to the movies, and when I sit in the theater, I want to watch something I don't have.
Yeah.
And I want to escape my life. Yeah. And I want to enjoy it and for my anxiety to go away. And I do think there's obviously space for more artful, anxious movies. I watch them all. But I really want more. I mean, The Idea of You is a great example. I mean, it does the bare minimum and everyone's freaking out about it. So
I don't want to be anxious in the summer. We can have anxiety movies in the winter.
Let's just wait for
we're talking seasonally.
100%, Rach. The last two movies we're going to talk about, because we've really been like chatting it out. M. Night Shyamalan's The Trap. Now, I think I'm the only one who's old enough to remember the like fanfare around The Sixth Sense. Like I went to see that in the theater. I had no idea what's coming. This filmmaker just blew everyone away. It was just like no one understood that, like, sorry to ruin it for those who haven't seen The Sixth Sense. But Bruce Willis's wife is dead the whole time. Okay.
If you're listening to this podcast and you didn't know the
There's
twist
no
in The
chance.
Sixth Sense.
There's no overlap of people who have not seen The Sixth Sense and that listen to this podcast.
Spoiler alert. We'll just put it at the top of the pod. Okay. But I feel like each subsequent movie, he keeps trying to like do this big reveal and the twist. And it just gets like kind of weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is that just because we've grown so accustomed to that from him, or it's not as good?
No, it's because he's decided it's his shtick.
Yeah.
And he places it in, whether it's like I went to NYU Film School.
Yeah.
They showed us The Village.
Oh,
I have never been
never
been more angry watching a movie. I felt that the twist in that movie invalidated the entire movie. And I was like, why did I just watch a movie to then have a twist that ruined the whole movie? Like, I have never been more furious leaving a movie. And I just feel like every M. Night Shyamalan movie since, I feel like he is looking for some sort of thought experiment, some sort of like takeaway sentiment, look, I gotcha moment. And I'm like, what's the narrative? Like,
Right.
You're losing me on the element of like, The Sixth Sense is so great is because it builds to the twist.
Yes.
His movies now,
Great
it's
character
like
development. Totally.
great character development. Now it's like, okay, we're building all this stuff, building off this stuff. JK, never mind.
Right.
Different idea.
Right.
It's so annoying.
Yes. Yeah. I think I agree with that.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but M. Night Shyamalan has an entire property in Philadelphia.
That's the only thing I like about him.
It's kind of cool. He has
Obsessed
his own,
with
Where he shoots everything,
where
right?
he shoots everything. He has his own studio. So I think he's just kind of pumping them out. And I think he's doing this thing now where it's like, I'll make 3 and one of them will be good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And he self-finances a lot of the time.
Well, by the way, I mean, he's like laughing all the way to the bank.
Totally.
We're just trying to pay our bills here. So,
By the way, great for the city of Philly's film.
It's cool. It's cool when a
Landscape.
filmmaker does that.
Love that.
Yeah.
This one feels a little bit like Trap felt. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool because you're forcing him to be stuck in a space.
It is cool.
So it's like if it's done successfully, which the trailer makes it look really fun and interesting, that would be really cool. But there is an element about it that I feel it reminds me of those like really bad horror movies that I watched when I was like 12 with my friends at sleepovers, which were like the derailing of the roller coaster. Like it feels a little bit glossy in that way. It's not cool.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful this will be cool.
I don't think he's cool anymore. I think he's trying to capture that thing, that vibe that we've been talking about, and I think it's just like he's past his prime. It happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did like the trailer more than I thought I would, but I know there's going to be a twist, and I know I'm going to be mad about it.
Yeah.
It's like if I just watched the movie and it was like what I saw in the trailer, I think that there's something there.
Yeah.
But I'm prepared for it to uproot itself and annoy me, so it makes me not want to go.
Anytime a film is sort of buried in August, you know that it's a little bit of a dumping ground. So we'll see what actually happens.
I've always been interested in that, in the idea that all these movies that we're looking at, like Harold and the Purple Crayon and My Old Ass and Trap, these are all, and it ends with us, they're all August movies. And the idea that would be a dumping ground is really interesting to me because it's when people are the most free.
I know. It's so bizarre to me too. And I think there's always movies that like contradict that, but all these movies I'm not that excited about. I mean, the last one we'll talk about is Blink Twice, which was originally called Pussy Island,
which is such a better title.
It's such a better title.
Pussy Island is a better title.
Yeah. But it's a Zoe Kravitz directed film.
Directorial debut.
This is where she and Channing, obviously fell in love. Channing Tatum plays like a billionaire who takes these 2 women to his island. And
Jeffrey Epstein thing.
It's a Jeffrey Epstein thing.
It's Glass Onion without the clue element.
Yeah. And I think that it being slated for August 23rd sort of indicates it's a bit of a mess. But we'll see. I was talking to Riva last night and she was like, that looks good. And I was like, I think it looks like a mess. We will see.
It's interesting.
It looks cool. It looks cool.
I read this script when I was working at a management company. The 21-year-old guy in the digital department was obsessed with this script.
Okay, interesting.
Then I explained to him why it was a bad script, and he was like, oh, I got it. But I do think Gen Z will be like, that's cool.
Okay.
And then they'll see it and they'll be like, it was bad. But I do get why it's a movie that got made and will grab people.
Why was he psyched? Was he psyched conceptually?
Conceptually.
I was excited conceptually. I was like, the vibes are cool.
He's like
Channing Tatum playing a billionaire, taking you to an island that's sort of like mimicking something happening in the real world.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I feel like a lot of movies right now have like a murderous billionaire archetype as the antagonist right now.
Yeah.
Which is very reflective of our current society, and I get it.
Yeah.
I think I'm just a little over it.
Me too.
But I do get why that's like buzzy and current and flashy and money. People like money and stuff.
Yeah.
And a fancy island. It has that kind of aspirational quality to it.
Yeah.
Of like, I want to have my own island. I just don't want to be murdered on it.
Yes. Yeah.
There is also, and I'm so curious how the marketing is going to play this out. I'll tell you guys off the podcast. There's an actor that this is loosely about that Zoe Kravitz had this experience with.
What?
Yeah, there's a room. And that's like the rumor in Hollywood. So I'm curious if that's similar to like what they did with the Sydney Sweeney Glenn Powell thing. Yes. If that's going to start like bubbling to the surface and they'll make it, everyone want to go see it to be like, what did that actor do to her?
I think it's comparable to the Don't Worry Darling of it all.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like to me.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
It feels like zeitgeisty and cool people are involved and the press around it will be interesting and then people will go and be like, eh.
Yeah.
But Don't Worry Darling wasn't a terrible movie. Like Don't Worry Darling stayed in the zeitgeist because like it wasn't incredible, but it actually like landed the plane. Like people went to see it. It didn't do so horribly. I have a feeling this is going to be a disaster.
I think that's an expectation barometer. Okay. I went into Don't Worry Darling thinking I'm going to hate this.
Okay.
And so I was pleasantly surprised that it worked more than I thought it would.
Same.
Versus this, I'm like, I think Gen Z is going to go in being like, I'm going to love this. This looks cool. But they have no idea that it's not good. And then they're going to hate it.
Kalshi has no opinion of Blink Twice, which is an indicator of...
It's a small movie. It's an independent film. It's not till August. And
yeah.
I don't know. I watched the trailer and knowing absolutely nothing about the script or anything, I thought it looked pretty good. But I could also see how it's like they've cobbled together a good trailer.
And it's a good cast. It's a crazy cast.
It's a cool cast. I mean, Naomi Ackie, Channing Tatum, like those are cool.
Gina Davis makes an appearance.
In what point? I don't even remember that.
In the script, it's like an indigenous woman that owns the island. So I'm hopeful they have rewritten that part to fit Gina Davis. But I do love her. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know.
I'm dubious. All right. Well, we did it. That was fun. Anything else you guys just want to mention?
I'm just mad Hitman is not going to be going to theaters like that.
Yeah.
That upsets me because it's Richard Linklater, who's an incredible filmmaker. And maybe his recent movie, I mean, he stays kind of small in all his movies, but they're all really lovable. Yeah. And we have Glenn Powell. Like, I think that would have
premiered at Sundance. People liked it a lot.
Yeah.
That movie should have like a theatrical release.
Yeah. At least a couple theaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's going straight to Netflix, which is a joy for me because I can watch it the weekend it comes out. But
totally.
I would love to have seen that in the theater.
Linklater, one of the greats.
Yeah.
If we could only do Dazed and Confused on the pod, like we can all just die happy.
I would die
so fun.
happy.
Yeah, my big takeaway, no big commercial comedies on the summer movie list.
What is up with that?
Even last summer, I felt like there were more choices. They weren't all 10s out of 10, but really fun movies, No Hard Feelings, Joyride.
Yeah.
Like there were a couple really big commercial comedies, which is what I want to watch in the summer. It might not be for everybody, but that's what I kind of lean towards. And there's not a one on this list.
Well, it's funny because, having had a lot of discussions about like the summer release of films with our distributor, I think that most distributors are scared of these big guns coming out. They're scared of Deadpool. They're scared of, Inside Out. They're scared of all these like big Despicable Me. They're scared of all these big films taking all the large general audiences. And so it's just like a money losing endeavor if they do try to compete. And so then it just creates like this landscape of like the biggest movies and then horror movies, which is, it's a shame.
I was also recently talking to an agent who represents mostly comedy writers, and he was saying that there's this really big void right now in comedy movies that, that camp of like Will Ferrell and Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
They don't make those movies anymore. Like Judd is making indie films, you know, which is great. And they, they work for but these big summer blockbuster comedies.
Like Where's the 40-Year-Old Virgins and Knocked Up, and those movies were great.
It doesn't exist right now.
Yeah. Get Me to the Greek and Sarah Marshall and those movies had those were good pieces of business. They didn't cost $100 million.
Totally. And you can rewatch them 1,000 times. I've seen all of those movies dozens of times.
We're just promoting what we want. You know what I mean?
Maybe
we just
we'll
have to keep talking about it.
Exactly. We'll make the next. We'll make the 42-year-old version.
Love that. Yeah, let's make the 42-year-old version. That's funny.
And it'll be a woman.
Yeah, that's funny.
The wax scene will be really naughty.
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much to Kalshi. It's always so fun to work with them, and they're like just such legit entities. Don't forget to like log on and start betting because it's like it's legit. It's like I just did it, and it's like hopefully we'll win.
I've learned that you can make money on Kalshi.
Yeah,
you can really make.
That's
money.
how math works.
Yeah, and if you like
put in money, then you make money.
And if you pay attention even a little bit, you'll know what you can buy. You know, at what point, like if a movie will make over 80%, we can pretty much bet that some of these movies will.
What other wrap up do we have to remind people of? Don't forget to follow.
Buy our merch. We have an amazing merch store. Ooh. We've been getting lots of pictures from all of you guys, all the amazing fans who love all of our merch. And the sweatshirts are so comfortable. I wear mine every single night.
Yep. Samesies.
And they have a really great design on the back.
My teens like steal them like 3 days a week.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing on the internet now that like if the hoodie is hoodieing. Have you heard about this?
Yeah. Sure.
I know too much. I'm on the internet too much.
No, I love it.
Our hoodies, they hoodie.
Yeah. Sure. No, I believe you.
Yeah.
You've tried the sweatshirts on.
Yeah. No, the sweatshirts are so comfortable. Yeah. I just, in the context of whatever you're talking about.
You're off TikTok.
No, I believe you, but we're not off TikTok. We are very much on TikTok. Yeah. So please like, subscribe, follow
Hollywood Gold Pod.
Hollywood Gold Pod. Yeah, that's right.
Stay Gold Features at Hollywood Gold Pod.
This is such a mess.
All right, guys. So thanks for joining. We love you so much. And don't forget to stay gold.
Stay gold.
Stay gold.